And here we are. Don't pay attention to the captions. Hello and welcome to Horde of Tales. It is Tuesday once again, and we are here to play Dungeons & Dragons in our Convergence Manifesto adventure. My name is Marcus, also known as the Chindividual. I am the Game Master, and I am a pale male with dark brown hair, a beard, glasses, and today a red sweater on, and I am your Game Master for tonight. And at the start of Chapter 6, we are with 3 players today, and I'm just going to go around the table so all of them can introduce them quickly to you. And I'm going first to the letter A, which is Ida.
Yay! Hi, I'm Ida. My pronouns are she and her, and you are looking at a tanned olive skin femme Latin woman with dark wavy hair today, yellow turtleneck, and like a olive green sweater vest over, and I am cold. And I am playing Rain, who is a Triton sorceress. Her pronouns are she and her. As a Triton, she has aqua, blue-green skin, finned ears, wears a saffron tunic, and has a mop of seaweed black curly hair.
Perfect. And there's also another A here in the group, so let's go on to the AU, which is Austin.
Hello, everybody. My mic got turned around. My name is Austin. Pronouns he, they. I'm a white man with a beard and gray beanie, gray jacket, arms doing weird things because I don't remember how to do this, and a weird kind of bluish turtleneck. I'm playing a Leonin named Daithun. Just imagine Scar from Lion King, like brown and black fur in armor.
Awesome.
Is he, him.
Fantastic. And then we skip the B in the alphabet and we go to the C to Caro.
Yeah, hello, I'm Caro. I'm a pale Caucasian female, pronouns she, they. My hair is still shoulder length with turquoise color, a little bit wavy today because I don't know what it is doing currently. And yeah, today I also have my glasses on today, so that's a change. And I'm wearing a black shirt and some golden jewelry and a little bit of nice makeup with very prominent red lipstick. And I'm playing Delphine today, pronouns she, they.
Fantastic. Glad to have all of you here. We are at session 44 of the Convergence Manifesto, and we're actually starting a new chapter today, Chapter 6. We had some wrap up last session, and in the meantime, all the characters here had some time for themselves. And we're going to find out in a few moments what that has led to. How's everyone feeling at the start of a new chapter?
Definitely ready to go into the game with like everything intact, no deals made, no curses, no all of my soul intact, obviously. And then Daithun's a whole different story, but like, you know. I don't know what's going on with him.
Ida, I think you're muted.
Am I muted? I probably am muted. I was just commenting how I thought it'd be nice imagining Daithun, the character, playing with a yarn during downtime.
Yes.
A ball of yarn.
That's at least 3 days of every downtime.
I'm knocking over random things.
I'm just really excited the way we sort of salvage is not the right word, but it's sort of the sentiment of the adventure, that we can still keep going with the premise, but we've like knocked past 2 patrons, bosses. I mean, is this not going to be the last one? Who else are we going to piss off? And I like that dynamic, and it makes it for really nice drama.
Question: who haven't we pissed off yet?
Whoever we pissed off, or who isn't scared of us.
Isn't that kind of both?
Let's see if we can find answers to the question who is scared or who is pissed off of you and who you haven't pissed off yet. How about we slowly settle into a game? But before we get into that game, you might be wondering where you are actually. Well, you are at the channel of Horde of Tales, and here on Tuesdays, we play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and specifically the adventure series of the Convergence Manifesto, which is written by a fantastic group of authors from across Eberron. All the adventures of the Convergence Manifesto can be found on acrosseberron.com. And today, we are kicking off Chapter 6 of the series, called Knight's Gambit. We play on Foundry Virtual Tabletop as our virtual tabletop, which you will see in action. And the music that you're hearing is by Dark Fantasy Studios. Our overlay has been made by our very own Caro. And the character art that you see on the overlay and in action in-game is a co-op between Caro and Sariel, who usually is also here, but will be back next week. Also, before I forget it, I have a habit of forgetting this last part of the weekly announcements. We have ways to spend your channel points. You could, of course, we have the usual channel point things to spend them on. There's a thing that you can spend channel points to have someone wear cat ears. There's a thing that you can spend channel points to have someone beatbox. Ignore those. Focus on the cat vantage, because we like cats here. And if you spot a cat on one of the players' cameras, you can give cat vantage to one of the players. Spend your channel points, put in that cat vantage, but also tell us which player gets it. If a player gets cat vantage, there is a cute cat popping up. For example, look at what happens on Caro's side. There's a cat icon. It appeared right there.
Wow.
And if the player has cat vantage, they can spend that on a roll to give themselves advantage on the roll. Once it's spent, the cat says bye-bye, and the player no longer has cat vantage.
Could we get like an audio clip like fixed to that animation of them singing Marcus's voice, bye-bye?
Anyhow, you keep in mind that you can only spend the cat vantage that a player can only have. I'm totally off my apropos of that remark, Ida.
Yes.
Every player can only have one dose of cat vantage, so don't give your cat vantage to a player who already has it. I think last time we conveniently established that if you don't name the player who gets it, then the GM automatically gets it. Or am I wrong in misremembering that?
You know, I think somebody said that, and I feel like it works.
Yeah, doesn't it? Then, of course, we can also raise the question: what happens if I already have cat vantage? But maybe GMs are allowed to have multiple cat vantages. Maybe GMs can do that. I don't know.
GMs normally have multiple characters.
We'll figure that out as we get along for the ride. Before we talk too much about what kind of sound effects these cats should have, and Ida gets started on actually making a deep fake of my voice, let's slowly transition into a game. But first, let's roll the intro.
Have on local folders saved on my computer should the need for making deepfakes arise and other interesting media is all there and present.
Oh, hey, welcome back. This was, I hope you didn't hear that last part. There is there's nothing to hear there, and I'm just giving a look there over at Ida.
It doesn't work with these cameras. We're on the internet, Marcus.
I keep forgetting that.
The interwebs.
The interwebs.
The interwebs.
Series
What-
of- it's a series of tubes for those old enough to recall this remark.
What isn't a series of tubes is our current adventures.
Is it?
Because we are once again with base jumping, cliff diving, daring, chaotic individuals who, until recently, worked for the Clifftop Adventurers Guild and did their best in gathering various items of planar relation all over the continent. They then decided to cut out the middleman and started working for the people who actually hired the Adventurers Guild to do that. That only led to them just no longer working for those people as well and deciding to continue their adventures in service to a planar patron. This all in search of the remaining planar artifacts, items linked to the various planes of Eberron, which so far apparently have been used in the construction of a strange eldritch machine. Our party witnessed a demonstration of that machine recently. In the wake of that demonstration, survived the partial collapse of a basement. One of them, Rebus, seeing more glimpses of their past life. And it became clearer for what purpose the adventurers had been gathering these items. And the four of you did no longer want to gather them for that purpose. Instead, you call upon the planar entity known as Tuuvaktuul, a creature of the Plane of Daanvi of perfect order, where you had taken one of these planar items, but had promised that it would not be used for anything wrong.
Aha, aha.
Now, witnessing that these items might have been used for something wrong, you decided to contact Tuuvaktuul and see if they could help you find these items and maybe work against whatever Nigel Farias and Arya were planning. This envoy of the Perfect Order told you that they would help you, but required some time for preparations to be made in the Perfect Order. Quite exactly 18 days, 9 hours, and 45 minutes. Time that all of you spent to recoup, to recover, to relax, and probably not doing anything dangerous, not doing anything stupid.
No, none
We
of us
will
did
think
anything
about it.
stupid. Why would we do that?
We are now at 18 days, 9 hours, and 40 minutes of this time. 5 minutes left. Not that anyone is keeping track or something. And all of you are scattered. The party has spent a lot of time apart during these days. And I wonder, with just 5 minutes left on whatever countdown Tuuvaktuul has given you, Delphine, where would we find you at this point?
You mean before the meeting or before we're meeting up as a group?
Well, before you would meet up as a group.
Well, probably doing the last preparations. So, since I guess we already set up a meeting point, so checking the gun, if there are all the bullets in there, if all the equipment is on me that I need, since I don't know if we will immediately start on our track as soon as we have spoken with Tuuvaktuul or not.
Right, you want to be fully prepared as
Yes.
possible.
Mhm.
Right. So you're checking your equipment and everything. Is there anything that is on your mind while you do this?
Not specifically. It's more of a small uncertainty if this is really working out as we think, or basically as most part of the group is thinking that it might work. Especially since we knew right now what is going on with the oversight from the occurrence. So yeah, plus the fact that it's very uncertain if we can win this race, basically.
Right. This race against Aurea and Nigel with gathering them. Right. Now these thoughts cross your mind. I'm assuming you're in some kind of room or somewhere where you're preparing all of this. You have like a table in front of you, and you're checking your gun, this trustworthy weapon of yours, refilling it. You have the bag with the bullets for your gun nearby, and you look for a moment at your weapon, thinking these thoughts. And as you look back at the bag, you notice that if you look into it, all of the bullets in there, the remaining bullets in the bag, are neatly stacked on each other as if someone made a pyramid out of those little orbs.
Okay. That is weird, but something similar happened with the bag of Dyphon.
Exactly.
Did anything else change?
Glad you ask. You notice, now that you look around, when you came into this room, the table that you were working on, it was slightly angled. It wasn't like completely in a straight corner. But now that you look at it, you didn't notice it, but it has been put now into a neat 90-degree angle in relation to the rest of the room.
Okay.
You also hear from the door that leads into the room. You hear behind you, from on the other side of the door, you hear a quick zip. And then for a moment you have this sense of vertigo. This kind of also the sense that you have, you know this feeling by now, the feeling you get in your stomach when you jump off a cliff and you start to fall. You have that feeling for a moment in your belly, and then that feeling disappears. Would the room that you have, would that also have a window?
Most likely, yes.
All right. You look out the window, and whatever kind of thing you first saw through the window is gone. Instead, you see a light-filled sky with, in the distance, just these cubic pillars reaching into this golden, glowing sky.
Can I assume that this room, with me and everything included, is now on the plane of order?
You would be very right to assume so.
What the heck?
There is a knock on your door.
Okay, taking my stuff and slowly opening the door.
You open the door and you see again one of these small machine people that you earlier saw. These little dice-shaped machines with arms and skinny legs, and two of them are standing in front of your door, looking up at you, and one of them makes first this buzzing sound, this buzz, and then with the buzzing still in the background, you hear the robot say, Tuuvaktuul is ready for the meeting. Please follow us.
Was there a way to do this without transporting a whole fucking room over to this plane?
Rest assured, the room itself has not been transposed from its actual location. Instead, Tuuvaktuul has made the transposition to this realm more convenient by creating an illusionary copy of the place you were in to not cause what you might call distress.
Okay. No need for that, but, well, anyway.
Please follow us.
Yeah, slowly following, a little bit angry.
All right, you follow the two Modrons out into the light-filled hallway, and the scene shifts over to another member of our entourage. Daithun, where would we find you at approximately 5 minutes before this countdown given by Tuuvaktuul?
At about 5 minutes prior, you would see not necessarily Daithun, you would just see a very large black cloak obfuscating a lot of his features, walking its way into the Umbra Den and leaving a letter at the front desk with the name Kaitha written on it before turning around wordlessly and walking back out.
All right. The Umbra Den, your ancestral home.
Indeed.
This is just one of the few times that you have been here in the past month.
Indeed.
You're delivering a letter to Kaitha, basically handing it over at the entrance. And
yeah,
then,
to whoever might be watching the door.
Right. And then you wander back off into the alley. I'm assuming you would keep on your cloak and everything until you're on a safe distance away from the Umbra Den.
Exactly.
All right. You find an alley where you could slowly take off your hood. Is there anything, for those who have seen Daithun, anything that might have changed in the past weeks about him?
I think visually, the only thing that would have changed is when he takes the cloak off. There might be. Let's see. There's like a chain wrapped around his right arm. I think. I don't think anything else has changed necessarily. He's wearing his normal armor. He has a javelin on one side of his back and a great axe on the other. He has his shield attached. He had it under the cloak, but reattaches it to his arm. Long sword at his side and a little pistol on his hip.
Right. Decked out and armed, but indeed this chain wrapped around your arm. Chain that you brought by an old friend.
Yeah.
A chain that you've gotten used to the feeling of it wrapped around your arm at this point. But there's also something else about that chain since you've decided to put it on. You do sense, since you wrap the chain around the arm, that there's always this distant voice in your head that tries to spur you to heroic deeds, that tries to push you to do the memorable thing. And you find yourself also sometimes when you sleep that you see this face of this hobgoblin hero in your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what you did during the day, this figure praises you for your valor, telling you that you're building your legend. But if your day was filled with the non-heroic, the figure scolds you, tells you to work on things that will have people remember you and to be a better person. What does Dython think of this voice?
I think most of the time he just wakes up going like, fuck off. I know how to live my life. Trust me, there will be plenty of time for that once I'm where I need to be.
And almost fitting to that line, you walk through this alley and you notice that at the end there's this large garbage container, like just a wooden large box that has a lid on the top. And you've seen this around these parts often. There are places where people bring their trash and the town hires people to come pick it up. There's companies that actually get paid for this. But what catches your attention about this one is that this is a clean garbage container. There is not a single stain on it. The wood is clean and the lid rests easily on it. And whatever kind of garbage didn't fit into the container is sorted next to it by size and by color. Yes.
I have a question about the world of Eberron because there are little details I forget. Are there like pocket watches and things like that?
There would be. There could be something like clockwork can be made, but it is more expensive to have something like that.
Okay, so it wouldn't be something I could just be like, does Dython have a pocket watch or something?
That would be actually an item that you would really have to acquire.
Okay. I think like Dython like sees this and it's just like trying to do like some mental math, like all right. Guess it's time.
You hear from inside the garbage container, you hear this sound, and then through the cracks in the lid, you see golden light.
Do I still have the engine?
Quintessence engine?
The Quintessence engine. I assume Dython is still carrying that because I don't think anyone's taken it from him yet.
Yep.
I think I just like pull it out of my bag and I just like look at it. I don't care how clean you make a garbage bin, I'm not getting in that.
You see the eyes of Tuuvaktuul flashing over the Quintessence engine, and as they just look at you, and as you say that, the lid of the garbage container just flies open, and the light glows bright in it. And you hear Tuuvaktuul's voice. This is the only possible entrance point at this temporal spatial confluence.
It's literal holy shit.
You don't have a door? You don't have...
Do you prefer to walk approximately 340.75 kilometers to the next entrance point?
I mean, I probably would be late. All right,
Very.
fine. Just put it back in its neatly, perfectly sectioned part of the backpack. And I think like I think he takes like anytime he messes with his backpack, he just like shakes it around a little bit just to see if it keeps. Every time he looks back in there, it's all organized again. And he
Exactly.
just like climbs up in the box. Like, what does he see when he looks in it?
If you climb up and you look into it, you first need to squint your eyes a bit from the light that comes out.
Yeah.
But then you basically see, as you look down, you're looking past cubic pillars that reach into a golden sky that you're looking down at. It's you're looking down, but you also get the feeling that you're looking upwards at something.
It's this again.
Yeah.
Okay. He's just gonna like sit on the edge and just like fall backwards into it. Like, I hope you have a way to catch me. And just, I guess, start falling up.
You start falling up, and the last thing you see before you fall in is that on one side of the alley, there's this kid that came in with a bag of trash and just sees you falling into the container. And as you fall in, we see the lid falls shut, the light disappears, and just a kid looking at the magical garbage container. Which then...
The lion, the witch, and the trash can.
Hey. As we transition to another member of our band, Rain, where are you hanging out right now? 5 minutes till the clock runs out.
I'm thinking where that commission would have taken place. Let's say it's a nice hotel room.
All right. Yes, a nice, comfortable hotel room.
And Rain would be in the middle of the bed. Like the sheets are completely strewn around. She's kind of like on her back, like the most lazy. I don't want to get up. I'm just rolling around in here. And knowing that the time is probably coming soon, she's probably just wasting time. So she probably has various parchment in front of her. And she borrowed like one piece of charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying her hand at artistic art. And you know, when someone is clearly not trained or has no artistic skill, they try to make a portrait on like the nose is a block and it's off center and an eye is bigger. And just like over and over and over these abstract paint sketches of herself. And she's like looking like, how did she make it look so easy?
And would she be still there?
You tell me.
So you are busy trying your hand at the artistic.
Because it would have been completed already. If we're about
Yes.
to go now.
Yeah. But we do see, like, while we're first seeing Rain trying her hands at portraits, we see the camera moves a little bit further over this mess of sheets and papers and charcoal. And in that pile of parchment, there is line art, for very well-made line art of a portrait of Rain. And we hear in the background a voice saying, "You got the angle wrong. You need to really don't start with that part of the face." And we see standing behind Rain, just stepping into this hotel room, is Haral, who is in very casual clothes, has like on her fingertips a little bit of the remains of the charcoal that she has been working with. And she starts gathering up some of her stuff.
But it's the best part.
Think so?
Well, to be fair to myself, all of me is the best part.
Haral just rolls her eyes at that. So, you also want to keep the sketch?
Are we talking about the completed one?
Now, the completed ones are already done.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
basically those are done, but there's like there's this line art sketch that Haral made as like kind of a proof of concept of what she's making or has made.
I think I would. Never know when something might come in handy. You know, to barter off treasure for my life or some other precarious situation I might get into.
Is that a likely scenario for you?
Considering the circumstances under which we met, and for the audience, Haral is an NPC we met who was in the middle of an assassination of a very, very highly ranked, influential figure in a very, very highly ranked house in the world of Eberron. And Rain doesn't answer that question. She just winks. Doesn't answer, just winks.
Haral once again rolls her eyes and is about to further trying to sort her papers and everything, but she looks down and she goes like, what the fuck? And Ray, now you also see that this mess of papers and everything has, by no effort of you or Haral, been sorted into neat stacks, nicely put together. All the charcoal has been put in a nice row, and even the sheets that were a mess on your bed now lie folded on the bed.
Oh no, I start like a petulant child, like kicking my legs. I start rolling around and say, Haral, it's been nice catching up with you. As in the middle, I'm just like trying to remess the place. The bed.
You're busy like messing up the place again. But the moment you're done with kicking one of the blankets or pillows, you look away, you look back at it, it's neat and tidy again. And you hear in the bathroom, behind the closed bathroom door of the room, you hear a zing sound and a golden glow comes from it. And Haral like immediately reaches for her backpack and with lightning reflexes pulls out a dagger from her backpack and just like, what's going on?
Oh, my life is in peril, just the usual things. I will miss you.
What? You want me to check that out?
No. This is where I make my very cool departure. Rain will get up, grab her backpack that's on the ground or whatever. Make sure she gets the sketches from Haral. Gives her a smile, gives her a nice pat on the cheek. Like, well, don't be strangers, and should we meet again, announce yourself properly. Otherwise, I might mistake your intentions. What they are, who knows? I'll find out one day. And I don't look back, and I just go into the glowing bathroom door. And I close the door behind me.
And you see, as you close the door behind you, you see that the glow is coming from the mirror in the room. And instead of seeing your reflection in the mirror, you see a long white walkway that leads to what is like a raised plateau with gears and clockwork turning underneath it. And you can see on that plateau already standing this marble, gold, and gears figure of Tuuvaktuul.
I thought I was the subtle one here. Oh well.
The planes are aligned, you hear them say.
That's
this is
nice.
your entrance point, Rain. Step through this entrance.
What happens if I'm late?
You should not be late.
That makes things more exciting.
I disagree.
We can agree to disagree. And we're going to have to talk about that attitude of yours as Rain climbs into the mirror above the sink.
You basically like it's a strange thing. You have to firstly climb over the sink, and then the mirror isn't really large, so you have to duck down and then you step through it, but you can actually step through the mirror, and the moment you do, you look back, there's no way back. You step in and are bathed in the golden light of Daanvi. And you do notice that to this platform, there's multiple other walkways leading there. And on one of those walkways, you can see Delphine approaching the platform, being led by two Modrons that you've also seen earlier. You see from another walkway that Daithun is approaching, And already on the platform, now coming out from behind Tuuvaktuul, you see Rebus standing there, who raises a hand and just waves at all of you. What do all of you do now here in the Plane of Daanvi?
Good to catch up with all of you. Dython, getting into any more mischief since I last left you?
It's only been what, like 4 or 5 days?
Have you continued accessorizing?
No, not anymore.
Any more? Rain turns to Delphine. Hi, nice to meet you. Who are you? Not the chatty type. Oh well. Hi, Rebus.
Oh, hello, everyone. Miss Rain, Miss Delphine, Dython. I had a very strange way to get here. I was just visiting my Aunt Myra, and I was trying to get something from her storage room. And then there was this light and this sound, and apparently Tuuvaktuul was ready for us. I hope all of you had a more regular way of getting here.
Yeah, a completely cloned room that he teleported over here.
Rain, how did you get in here?
I was having a sleepover with a friend, and then I saw the most beautiful thing in the world. I approached it, and here I was.
Why the hell was I in a dumpster?
Are you projecting, Dython?
Might be
What does
fitting.
that
No.
mean? What does that mean?
It means I had to climb in a dumpster. Tuuvaktuul, what? What? Do you not like me?
Tuuvaktuul turns his head towards you. There is a bit of a ticking sound of gears moving inside of them, and they say, as I've mentioned, it was the closest entrance point for your location. The time of our congregation had come, and I chose the most ideal access point for all of you. Do note that this kind of direct transportation to Daanvi is rather an exception than the rule.
Oh, there's that famous flexibility of yours.
Also, it was necessary because none of you possess own personalized authorization crystals. I would like to remind you that on your last visit, you used mine to get in here.
Mm-hmm.
I did
You-
no
so-
such thing.
So what should we do about that if this is going to be a regular thing?
Tuuvaktuul looks at you and then looks at his own, their own hands, and has these 4 authorization crystals in them. Small objects that fit into the palms of your hands. Identical to the ones that you got on your first trip to Daanvi, when the ones that you got from your contact, these kind of shard-shaped objects that allowed you to actually traverse into Daanvi. Tuuvaktuul opens their hands, and the authorization crystals, one of each, float over to you, and each of you get one of your own.
I think Dython holds his, looks over at Rain. Want to trade? Would be fun.
Is mine shinier? Is mine neater? Or are they all exactly identical the same?
They are all exactly identical, the same.
I just think it might be fun if I come in as Rain and you come in as Dython. I don't know.
You couldn't handle it, Dython.
No, you're probably right.
What are we doing if we are losing these thingies? I mean, not everyone is so super organized.
You should not lose them. Losing them would require you to fill out Form 37B through Z1, which is a very elaborate task. Make sure you keep them on your person at all times. But you are not here to discuss proper protocol in the plane of perfect order. You have called out for my assistance a few weeks ago when
More
I
like
sensed
a proposal of a partnership.
partnership. It implies an equal standing of all parties.
Sponsorship? Allyship?
I have pondered your reasoning for this course of action. Was it because whatever the Quintessence Engine and other objects were used for was not according to your moral ideas?
I would say that every one of us had their own reasons for this. Isn't it like it?
I think it was more the lack of shared intention.
Well, my considerations were that, you know what? I, for one, would be very interested in the audacity in going forth with such a experiment with the goal of uniting various planar artifacts and seeing what unfolds. I don't think such a thing is necessarily just or unjust. But it was clear in that moment that Aurea, our former sponsor, even by my unusual standards, that was a bit... that didn't well with me. That didn't really benefit anyone but her, and the reasons were so unoriginal, uninspired. And in that moment, I thought, who else would have a stake in making sure that her vision doesn't come true? And I thought of my old buddy, old pal T.
I politely request that you do not call me by that name. But I thank you for your further elaboration. Are you still in the possession of this Quintessence Engine?
Point to Dyson, because remember that was...
Yeah, looking over to him.
I mean, you know that's a yes. I just had it 2 minutes ago.
I do also know about the inclination of mortals to quickly lose possessions. Also pointing to the question that you already posed, what to do if you lose the authorization crystals, as if it's a reality that you already expect to happen.
Well, I for one have a perfectly organized backpack.
Thanks to
No, I
the
was not
Quintessence
one who
Engine.
asked. Yes, exactly. Which you know I have. Why? Takes it out.
Tuuvaktuul looks at it. It is damaged.
Wasn't it already damaged when we got it?
It was already damaged, yes. It was already damaged.
No,
when we got
I'm
it.
telling that to Tuuvaktuul.
Correct. But additional damage has been wrought upon it.
Well,
Dythun,
you
can you hold it closer to me?
like step forward closer to Tuuvaktuul.
And Tuuvaktuul steps a bit closer to you. They are this towering figure, and
Yes.
they lean forward a bit. You hear again this tick, 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 tick of gears turning. And they look at the engine, and you see their eyes. There's this, as if there's another layer coming over their eyes. and it glows red. The eyes glow red, and they start looking intently at the Quintessence Engine. Planar hairline fractures. I identify minor intrusions of various other planes. Then the glow vanishes. The eyes go back to their regular eyes. What was it exactly used in?
In some sort of machine that was set up. We don't exactly know for what.
It's a good question, actually.
It was apparently being used by someone who wanted to seems harbor a lot of power for themselves. To the end of revenge, what they call justice.
I think revenge fits here.
Revenge is often misidentified as justice.
That's always a point of view.
I have studied the mortal ways of justice for millennia. And a sense of vengeance and revenge often acts as a compass needle for one's sense of justice. Hardly ever works out well. If this was used in something that the Quintessence Engine has been filled with traces from other planes, am I correct in deducing that whatever these former employees of yours were doing was trying to bring together the various planes?
We saw a machine explode.
Be completely honest, maybe a lot of the, you know, like I kind of have an idea of where we're standing now, but if you asked me, like, I don't, all of this is a bit, it doesn't really, like, we're on a different plane. I understand that, I think.
That is correct. We are on a different plane, and there are many others like this one. Not exactly like Daanvi, of course. There's only one Daanvi. But your world, your material plane, is orbited by many other planes that act in accordance with your material plane. They interact with each other, and there is a tenuous balance between them.
Is this now kind of like a history lesson because I've already they were already boring when I was a child?
Is it truly history that will apply to your current actions?
Is what you're saying is the world might actually revolve around rain? Because I'm sure she thinks so.
She most likely thinks so.
It doesn't.
Which does lead me back to the point that you reached out to me for a partnership to make sure that whatever your former employees were building will not come to fruition.
Asterisk on that. It's much more that they don't succeed, but we should.
You desire to foil their plans.
Yes. I think you do too.
If this is but one thing that they can already do in a failed experiment, I do think that there is much danger for the planes if they were to continue their experiments. Were there other objects there from other planes?
Nope.
Yes.
There are conflicting reports here.
I just trust mine. It's fun. There was a couple, but one of them we let them keep.
Are the chains around Daifun's arm visible?
Oh yeah, they're just like on top of his like sleeve, basically.
And as you-
I would say like yeah, there were several and pointing towards the chains.
Tuuvaktuul cranks their head towards it. Thelanis, the
Yes.
plane of the fairies' stories. You have had
Chaos.
interactions with the other planes.
A few, yes.
Listen, he's
these-
a very smart one.
Were these chains and other items also intended to be used in the contraption of your employees?
Uh, in a way, they were.
Then I believe, as individual Rain has already proposed, trying to hinder them in acquiring others would be a beneficial course of action. And it is beneficial to me and my work that I have agents like you who can do that. I'm still bound to Daanvi, but I might have information on one of the objects that you could find before your rivals find it.
And beyond just racing to the item, what do you propose should be done with it? Are we going to bring it forward and make a machine, a contraption of our own?
Safekeeping is what I propose.
Safekeeping to make a machine, a contraption of our own.
Safekeeping to keep it out of the hands of individuals who might be as foolish and ambitious as your former employees. To what end would you desire to construct a machine of your own that converges the planes?
To see its potential, to see what would happen, to see what could be gained, to see what could be lost. People are so bound by rules and limits. Things must work so. If they are not so, they cannot work. I strive to live a bit of a more contrarian approach to that. I have made the impossible possible.
A machine that will break limits and convention, defy order. I
But
do
if
not
it
see the...
exists, then you have to accept it as order.
Rain, can you give me a persuasion check?
Yeah.
Remember, you do have a cat advantage if you want to
I
use
have
it.
a kitty cat. Let's see how that rolls first. We're gonna use that cat advantage. That's much better. I've used it. That is a 23 total.
Bye bye. 23 total.
Yes.
Tuuvaktuul ponders your logic here and since they do have actual clockwork inside of them, you can actually hear the gears grinding as they do. And after a moment, they say, we'll have to ponder that possibility more, but I do not think we have time to fully continue a discourse on that unless we want your former employees to still acquire the objects.
We agreed to have further discussions.
Before I provide further information, I would also require all of you to agree to something else. I am entrusting you with a task of quite some importance. As you have seen with your own eyes, in the wrong hands, these planar objects can have problematic consequences. Planar items appear on the material plane with some regularity, at least if we look at longer time spans, not at the ones that you mortals exist at. Usually, leaving those items and artifacts in the manifest zones in which they appear is hardly a problem. But if there are currently actively people looking to use them for such destructive means, they need to be removed from their current places. Safe kept by you and not utilized by you. They look over at Daithun. I believe that last part is already a challenge for some of us. And they look at the chain.
It's just there.
I'm entrusting you with items that can be used for terrible ends. If you want me to assist you in finding these items, you must agree to that if any of you uses them to upset the order at which existence exists, to go against the lawful order, I will personally end you. Is that understood?
Is that just for ones here on out, or?
As long as we will have this partnership, as you seem to desire to have a relation of that kind.
I mean, like, obviously the quintessence. Like, did he take the quintessence? Did they take the quintessence engine?
They actually didn't. They actually just had looked at it. They allowed you to keep it.
Okay, well, like the engine in the backpack, or the okay, I have them, obviously. Big surprise. These two excluded is what I'm saying. Like, the items from here on out we shall not use.
Well, technically, Daithun isn't using an item is using Daithun.
I don't know what you mean, actually.
It's using you.
I don't think so.
Are we clear on these premises?
No, you haven't answered my question. Are you going to kill me if I use the chains?
That depends on the usage of them.
Are
you going to?
Because they're using Daithun.
Are you using them to assist your companions and me in acquiring the remaining artifacts?
Yes.
Are you going to use them to try and murder your companions and flee with all the artifacts you have collected?
No.
He wouldn't succeed if he tried.
I wouldn't try.
Consider to be under my observation at all time. And should you
Even when we go to the bathroom, Tuuvaktuul?
All time.
I don't consent.
That's also probably something that and everyone would say that you ever just projected your mind into without asking beforehand.
Baby steps.
Tuuvaktuul just nods at you, Delphine. And I will observe your steps and make sure that you will not use the artifacts in ways that are detrimental to my goal here, to preserve justice and order. Does that clarify things?
Yes.
We'll do our best. And as you keep reminding us over and over, you're always watching. And if we're good, I hope they're presents, because there are stories in the lands above the sea that when particularly children are very good and listen to others, they get put on a particular list and then receive presents.
Rewarding correct and acceptable behavior is a great way to encourage such behavior in the future. I will ponder such a reward scheme.
Now, to the next item then.
Tuuvaktuul turns around, walks in heavy steps, and at the center of this platform that you're on, there is a rising from the ground is a kind of what looks like an altar. A very blocky structure. You can hear the clockwork moving underneath it. It rises up to go all the way up to Tuuvaktuul's hip, which is fairly high up for some of you, maybe. And Tuuvaktuul takes their position behind this altar, moves their hand over it, and on it appears what looks like a see-through illusion, very hologram-like, and it shows a large fortress in the middle of a barren plain that is surrounded by dust and dirt and bones. Tuuvaktuul looks at it, gestures at it. The location of the planar artifact that your former employees will be looking for, aptly called Fort Bones, residing in, if I am not mistaken, the nation of Karnath. A place that, if my information is correct, you used to enter on your first voyage here to Daanvi.
It's making a perfect circle. How orderly.
Very. Fort Bones is a military facility on the southern border of Karnath. Karnath has had history with energies that radiate from the Plane of Mabar, the Plane of Death. The forces at Fort Bones have, many years ago, acquired an object that is infused with the power of Mabar. And I have reason to believe that if your former employees, you are looking for these kind of items, they will be trying to get it from this fortress. You should try to enter this fortress, retrieve the item, and make your way back.
As Tuuvaktuul is explaining that this is linked to the plane of Mabar, Rain just kind of tilts back, her arms go slack, and just like she's silently laughing into the into the ceiling, wherever the ceiling is. And as doing so, she's going to walk near Tuuvaktuul And interesting note, Rain has had experience with the planes of, well, in this case, Mabar and the Lure, because mechanically one of her feats is she's Shadowfell touched. She has had exposure to these kind of energies, and from which has crafted and pulled her own magic. So as she walks near Tuuvaktuul with her head backwards, like she's going to, what can I pull off? What do I got? Yeah, I'm going to disguise self again into the original celestial being that he saw me as when I was faking my who I was here in the plane. But just for story purposes, I want to sort of slow down that casting. So as I pull in that magic, if there is any sort of whiff or air about that plane that I weave into my magic and manifest it into that spell, I definitely want Tuuvaktuul to like catch that scent. To show him like, I am plane touched. I am perfect and fine because of these conversions of planes.
You start shifting into this celestial form, slowed down, and everyone around you will notice that as you do, the bright light of the Plane of Daanvi dims around you. The shadows that you cast here are longer, and everyone also sees that as your shadow changes, as your shape changes, it's as if the shadow moves on itself, tries to get away from you for a moment. But as you complete the transformation, and also the shadows that are cast over your face and everything are deeper and darker, there's also this cold wind that whips around you. Tuuvaktuul looks at you. That should be an advantage if you are going to Fort Bones. Because right underneath this fortress, and the illusion of the fortress lifts up, shows tunnels underneath it, and then deep below it, this black and purple pulse of light. It is built on a manifest zone of Mabar. I leave it up to your competences to find entrance into the fortress, but I do have some information that might be beneficial. According to the predictive engines, there is a 79.5% chance that Fort Bones will find itself assaulted by forces from Valinor. There is also a 49.6% chance that the troops stationed at Fort Bones are looking for volunteers to sign up for military service, and a 22.2222224% chance that there is an alternative entrance to the lower levels of Fort Bones through a nearby cave network. You are not limited to these choices, but these are options with a statistical high beneficial outcome. Though calculations are run again every 4.65 seconds.
And remind me again, what exactly is it we're looking for? Or must we wait until the other interested parties get to it first?
The image changes, removing the image of the fortress and everything. And instead of this, appears a single beautifully crafted board game figure on it. Does anyone of you have any proficiencies in any kind of gaming set or something?
Dragon chess.
Dragon chess?
Chess.
Dragon chess.
It's like the first thing.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's
We
the
bonded
first thing me and
over-
Rain like connected over.
Right. Yes. I think actually, yeah, you actually played a game of Dragon Chess
Yeah.
against each other. Yeah, yeah. So interesting Eberron
no
fact. So
voices.
technically speaking, Dragon Chess doesn't exist in Eberron. There's usually a board game that's called Conquest in Eberron, which is very similar to chess. But since we earlier established that Rain and Daithun play Dragon Chess, our Eberron just has Dragon Chess in it, and
Our Eberron also has Leonin.
exactly. So the piece you see is actually a very beautiful crafted board piece for a game of Dragon Chess, and it has this. It's made out of this ebon material, but has these ivory white lines running through it. There is a mortal story told about this gaming piece, full of folly and misjudged beliefs, that is said if one were to die, but would play a game of Dragon Chess with death using this figure, and they could beat death in a game of chess, they could win immortality.
I think Darthan just turns and looks at Rain.
Ah, everyone knows death cheats.
Death is a universal force that does not play any games. Death, it cannot cheat.
How little you know.
Is this information sufficient? Daithun, individual Daithun.
Yes. Clarification on the method of collecting these items.
Proceed.
So you haven't asked for the engine back. You don't seem to need these. Are we bringing them to you, or are we just... I believe you said keeping them in our possession, correct?
Safekeeping them. If I can trust that they are safe in your possession, I see no reason to bring them into Daanvi at this point. Should I, however, receive reason that they are not safe in your safekeeping, I will prepare storage here in Daanvi.
Well, I can guarantee either me or Rain, and probably interchangeably, will have possession of this piece, one or the other. Probably. I mean, if Rain has it, I will try to steal it, and I assume that if I have it, Rain will try to steal it. So
Possession
between
alone
the
does
two of
not
us.
possession alone does not imply any problematic intent.
Rain
And I
starts
do not think-
minor illusioning dragon chess pieces and starts flinging them towards Darthan.
It's like swatting it, like
Poof, poof.
okay, that's fine. That's all I needed to know.
Rebus speaks up. Tuuvaktuul, if you have brought us here, will you be also aiding us to get close to this Fort Bones? Tuuvaktuul says, with the current coaxial alignment of material plane and Daanvi, I would be able to have you exit this plane fairly close to Fort Bones. For your return, should you desire to return here to this plane, there is an access point that you know of in Karneth. I think it is one that needs a certain velocity to enter.
Right. We could have to like. Guess we'll have to catch a train again.
We could also just travel to that bridge without a tram.
I believe
Oh,
that the velocity was necessary as well.
Yeah, I gotta act like I know what velocity means.
It's when things
So-
go new.
Right. Cool. Right. So, is that where you're bringing us, or is that just where we're returning?
Fairly nearby to this, I will bring you to the location of Fort Bones. But if you seek to return here to Daanvi, you will have to do so through your known access point.
Fair enough.
Actually, not one more question.
Yes, individual Dythun, proceed.
Wonderful. You want us to keep the item. You're always watching, when we do things. Do we have to come back here?
If you desire to keep the items safe, you can come back here. If you desire to keep them safe yourself, I do not see a need for this. I preferred this way of talking with all of you at the start of our partnership, out of what other members of my kind would call out of an maybe unnecessary emotion.
Courtesy?
Courtesy. Correct. That's what it is documented as.
That's unnecessary. Interesting. Good to know.
And we're going right now, says Rain, looking like an angelic being with wings and golden armor.
If you are prepared for the task, I will transmit you as soon as possible.
Is this helpful? And I gesture at my disguised self.
That depends on your plans. If you intend to intimidate whoever is at Fort Bones, it might be beneficial.
Do we feel like intimidating? I ask
I'm
the
up for
party members.
anything. We have plenty of options in front of us, I'm sure. I mean, let's face it, the way things usually go, we'll probably end up intimidating somebody.
All right. Let's see what we got.
Tuuvaktuul flashes their hand over the altar, the illusions, the hologram disappearing. Trench location initiated. Thank you for your conversation. And good luck on this task. Though luck will hardly factor into this. And as they say that, the gears underneath the platform grind and move, and the light around you glows bright, blindingly bright, as you feel the ground vanishing under your feet. Wind whooshing up from beneath you, and you feel like you're falling. And to see where you and to see where you drop off, we're going to see that after the break. We're going to take a short little break for now. Thanks everyone for hanging out in chat with us. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and after that, we're going to continue and see if these people are going to be able to enter a fortress that's on a manifest zone of the plane of death and decay. See you in 5. See you soon.
Bye.
What? We're back. Here we are again. It's part 2 of today's session here on Convergence Manifesto. The party has just hammered out the details of their partnership with Tuuvaktuul, an entity of the Plane of Daanvi, and they have been tasked with trying to find yet another planar item before Nigel Farias and Aurea Erkoren can get their fingers on it. They're looking for a piece of a board game that is linked to the Plane of Mabar, the Plane of Death, in a fort that is literally called Fort Bones. Sounds pretty metal to me. Let's see how the party is going to deal with that. Before the break, Tuuvaktuul yeeted all of you out of Daanvi, and you felt a sensation of falling. That sensation held on for a moment before you thudded against the ground, not with too much impact, no broken bones, no ribs, maybe a few bruises, but you landed on hard, dusty ground on a rocky plain. The blinding light of Daanvi vanishes from your eyes and is replaced with a sight of gray and pale brown. The plains before you of just rocks and dust, a few dead trees, trampled, improvised roads, and right next to you, the sound of 2 vultures that are currently picking up the last remains of a cow's cadaver. As you look into a western direction on this cloud-covered day, you can just see roiling gray in the western direction. Looking south, these bland and dead plains continue, and only far off in the distance can you see hints of some kind of green, some kind of living plants. But also in about a western direction, you see in the distance the outline on a hill of a fortress. Could all of you give me either a history or a survival check?
Okay. It's a new
The hot
chapter, new chance for the Caro die. Shake it up.
New chance
don't
to
give it a
paradise.
chance. Don't give it a chance.
Always
Let me get the
paradise.
shiny off from the side. Balance.
Okay.
I have a question about this.
About the dice?
No, about this check. Does this have anything to do with the fort in particular, or does this have to do with the environment?
It would also have to do with the fort, yeah?
I don't know if Dython would have any predisposition to knowledge of this thing.
That's actually a very valid point. If you're rolling history on this, then you could roll with advantage.
Okay.
Don't fuck me,
I'll
Caro.
take that.
Caro, fuck me.
Oh no.
Not here.
One
That's
of
not the
these-
right time, you know.
What of
What?
these is the Caro dice? Let's see. Both of those suck. Cool.
Rain, was that on a history or a survival?
Total 8 on history.
On a history, all right. Dython, what did you get on your history?
That's a 4.
It's a 4. All right. Delphine,
That's the higher one on the Caro dice.
16 on the history.
on a history. All right. So, yeah.
Dython said, "What's a fort?"
Right.
You mean a fork?
Delphine, while your companions are looking around and the vultures are scampering off, doing this signature vulture walk, vulture walking with its wings out. And yeah, exactly that, Austin. You look around and you know of Karnath as a nation. It hasn't been that long ago that you and your companions traveled on lightning rail through it. You actually fought people on the lightning rail here. But you do know Karnath as a nation has, as a country, been struggling with famine and droughts for a very long time. Food supply has always been a problem in this land, and Karnath has always had to rely on a lot of import of food. The last war hasn't made that much better. But Karnath has been in last generations investing more heavily in their in necromantic solutions for their problems. Undead don't need to eat. Undead don't need to sleep. They don't need to drink. And a lot of the workforce and military force of Karnath has been replaced by the undead. Fort Bones, in that regard, has quite a reputation. It is basically the best fortress of Karnath, keeping an eye on its southern border, Karnath bordering on first the Talenta Plains and even further south Valinar. And it was taught to you during your education as a great example of how to build a great fort, how to build a great fortification and basically be unconquerable, which is only enhanced by the fact that probably 90% of the soldiers in that fort are undead. You cannot starve out the undead.
Sometimes. Yeah, I relay this information to the others, like.
As Delphine ends her explanation with fun times in her usual like Delphine sass way, GM, what would Rain know about what's it, Shadowfell, about the Plane of Mabar?
Right. So Mabar as a plane is also called the Endless Night. It is a plane of darkness and entropy. You basically have no kind of light there, and it is filled with negative energy, the opposite of positive energy. Usually positive energy is what's necessary for any kind of life, and Mabar is just completely filled with the opposite of that. As also someone who, as you mentioned earlier, is basically, with your background, influenced maybe partially by Mabar, you do know that there are also some types of celestials that actually descend into Mabar and become changed by it, becoming some kind of dark angels that are incarnations of entropy. Wherever Mabar influences Eberron's material plane, life has a harder time to exist. And also healing magic, any kind of healing, takes more effort.
I think Rain's initial interest in the Plane of Mabar would be because we established earlier that her Triton people were very familiar with the Plane of Irion.
Right.
So just to go against the grain, just like, I'm going to do the polar opposite of, I'm looking to the polar opposite of what people are about.
I think that Mabar is practically the literal opposite that you could pick for that.
So Rain would definitely share. Well, going into places touched by Mabar particularly, how do I put this? And even though I was loath to do it, you need to try to keep a bit of twinkle in your eye, a spring in your step, a smile on your face. Otherwise, it will literally devour you. So fun. You need to take everything to go like, fun! Can you try that? Come on, let's see it. You're doomed.
I try already a lot of times.
Rebus goes, fun!
A for effort.
Thank you, Ms. Rain.
Bash, 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 bash.
How about we cross that bridge when we get there?
Also, maybe we should already decide, since Tuuvaktuul presented us two decent options and what we might use to get into that fort. Maybe deciding which one to use.
We're outside this fort on this sort of grassy, plainy area.
Right.
There's no invasion force marching off, making a dust cloud somewhere.
Give me a perception check. Give me.
About to ask,
want-
like, he said they might be invaded. Like, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Total 16.
16. Yeah, with that question raised, you look around and you look in a southern direction, and you do in the distance see dust clouds rising.
I think we should keep ahead of that. I point the cloud to my companions.
Well, I will say this. Do you think it's... Are we trying to sneak in? Because our other option was to, like, pose as volunteers.
Well, volunteering as part of... As kind of mercenaries, I guess. Or we're trying to find that entrance to the cave system. Which might... The second option might be the longer one, since we don't know the area around here.
Well, the other option is if we pose ourselves as volunteers, what do we do? Like, throw our bones at them? Like, they kind of seem to have this whole undead thing going on. Unless I'm mistaken, none of us are undead.
No, the inside of the fort, there are the undead. The others that are attacking are from Valenar.
Right, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Those are mostly warbanding elves.
Which, Rebus adds, still begs the question, if the fort is manned by undead, what would they need volunteers for?
No, not the fort. Those from Valenar.
Oh, just clarification then. Maybe I wasn't clear. Tuuvaktuul did say that volunteering was for the people at the fort, not for the attackers.
Fort?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. For at the fort.
That's the point. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, that one maybe wasn't clear, but they're looking for volunteers at the fort. A fort manned with undead.
Yeah. I sense some terrible implications of what volunteering might lead to. So
Could be basically anything.
I mean, what if we just look for a cave? Like, what would it hurt to look to see if there's like a cave entrance somewhere nearby?
And then, should we get caught? Oh, we were looking to volunteer after the fact.
Exactly.
In a cave system.
Yes.
Yeah, why not? I have a feeling that if we get in there, by the time they catch us, they'll be dealing with an invasion. So, strategically...
Rebus taps the lower part of their faceplate. So, do I understand this correctly, that we take the cave entrance as our plan A? Should we be found there, we use plan B of volunteering for their forces, but in the hope that that is not necessary because of plan C, that the Valenar attack while we're in the cave.
Yeah.
Depends who finds us first. We could always pretend to volunteer for Valenar. Anyway, spelunking it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
then so we are first looking if we can find an entrance anyway.
Yeah. What, like, is there a mountain? Is there, like...
You-
What...
well, you basically want to go and make an effort of looking for potential entrances to some kind of cave system that would get you in there. All right.
Yes.
So, leaving behind the picked apart cow carcass and the vultures who have by now flown up to a nearby dead tree and are just looking at you while you were planning, you wander across this wasteland. And we're going to do this as a group survival check. And Austin, don't forget, you still have a charge of Catvantage should you desire to use it.
I might need to use that. You sure it's not perception or athletics?
Make your case for
You're
how
sure
athletics
it's survival?
make your case for how athletics help you find a cave.
Because I can cover more ground if I'm running at a decent pace, which would allow me to look for things quicker and further away from the part. I'll roll survival. It's fine.
Thank you.
I'm gonna use that advantage.
Perfect.
I'm gonna need it. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Hey, the Caro dice rolled well for once.
Woo!
Woohoo!
I got my total, but I want to see if the carrot dice is higher or lower. Lower. Oh, that's a not one. Wow. No.
I think they are rolling shit because I never touched them.
So we have to send them back to you so you can bless them.
You should come for a roll initiative, Con, and touch your dice. Rain rolled a 12.
12? What
on a
did
different
Dyphon get?
die.
21.
Thank God.
21. What did Delphine get?
Technically, it was a 2, but I have a -1 on survival, so.
Interesting.
So
So,
good at this.
Yeah, this is a favorite thing that I can do. So.
Does Rebus get a roll?
Is Rebus good at the thing?
huh,
I don't know what
Yeah,
Rebus's
yeah.
stats are.
you really want to see if that helps, right? Let's see.
Maybe.
Let's see.
Could make it worse. The dice are...
Let's see.
Dice.
Rebus on survival. I'm gonna roll the Caro die.
Ah!
Look. You can say what you want about the Caro die, but they
gorgeous.
always it's gorgeous, and it rolled an 18 now. So
Wow.
that's actually pretty good, and changes what I was about to narrate. Thank you for reminding me
Yay.
of Reba's character sheet.
Thank you, Ariel, for existing.
Thank you.
You wander around this barren wasteland for maybe like 2 hours.
Poof. Back to my old self.
The
I
outlines
forgot
of
you're still an angel.
the outlines of Fort Bones remain on the horizon as you look around for potential cave entrances, but you find a few hills, but there's no holes except for like holes to snake nests in there. You find a broken down cart by a dusty road, but there is also no cave entrance there, of course. Through all this time, you do see that these vultures that you saw earlier keep circling over your head, as if they're just waiting for you to fall over any moment.
How far away are they?
They're flying at about like 20, 30 feet above you.
Firebolt.
You firebolt at one of them, and you just hear like "Ah!" from one of the vultures, and they scamper off for a while. After a grand total of about 3 hours of searching, walking in circles, and maybe having here and there a discussion if you have come past this rock earlier or have seen this tree earlier, you do notice that there's a sound that's coming closer by. There's a bit of a distant trampling sound on the ground. the dust cloud that you saw earlier in the south has come significantly closer. And you can at this point actually make out silhouettes of people mounted on horses. And in whatever sunlight shines down here, the sunlight is reflected on the steel of armor and weapons. As that approaches, you do find, as you move a bit closer to Fort Bones itself, which is built on a hill, a rocky hill. And on one side of it, there's a dried out creek. And there, at one end that leads towards the hill at which Fort Bones is set, you do see what looks like a small but promising entrance to some kind of cave as the trampling of the hoofs comes closer.
Well, so couple options. Try the hole. Maybe it leads to the caves. If it doesn't, we'll be out of sight whenever they arrive. Or, I mean, honestly, if this isn't it, I think we abandon the caves. But
I mean, surely this is where the volunteer sign up is, as Rain starts walking towards the hole.
Rain, can you give me a
I'll get
perception
my
check, please?
Yeah.
quill.
11.
11. You walk towards the hole and you get closer to it. But then you notice that there's a shadow over you. And coming down from above the clouds, you see this flying lizard with an enormous wingspan.
We're near the Tanta Plains, you said. Ah!
That comes out of the clouds, ducks, flies down. And you see on its back, the creature is large. And on its back, on the front, on a saddle, is a halfling with a mask on against the breeze. But on the back, in the second part of the saddle, is another halfling. The saddle modified so that the halfling can stand in the saddle and is armed with a crossbow with actually this kind of clip on top of the crossbow that allows the crossbow to reload itself. And it's diving down for a drive-by past the fort. And as you see that massive shadow over you, you look up along the hill and the walls of the fortress near you. And on the top of the walls, you see that there are figures on top of the parapets. And there is about 15 figures on that wall, all looking at that flying dinosaur that is approaching the wall. And one of those figures raises his hands, and a streak of lightning flies towards the flying lizard, hits it fully in the face, and you hear this as the lizard comes crashing down from about 80, 90 feet height. It is full. Its trajectory is coming your direction, Rain, as you're approaching. It's completely unaware of you, but you're aware of the fact that there's a giant lizard falling out of the sky with two halflings on top of it. And oh god, on top of the walls, there's also people who might be seeing you. What do?
Dive into the hole.
You dive into the hole. The rest of you also at this point, especially once you hear the scream, you see the flying lizard falling. What are you doing?
Yep.
Into the hole?
Grabbing Rebus. Let's go.
Grabbing you. Makes total sense. All right. So you are diving into the hole underneath the fortress. And as you get in there, can all of you give me a dexterity saving throw?
We're
Oh, yeah,
near
I'm good at that.
Delphine.
Yeah, you're near Delphine.
Different die.
What's the
Oh,
bonus for being here, Delphine?
2.
Cool, that's a 12.
10
10.
with everything.
What did you get, Delphine?
I got a 24.
Woof!
Oh, that
Nice.
must be nice.
I'm just good in dexterity.
I get a +0 to those.
So, Dythun and Rain, as you are running towards the entrance of the cave, diving into, both of you get slapped by the wing of the crashing dinosaur just before you can get into the cave. Delphine, you just get past it, but still feel the impact of the crashing animal. Rain and Dythun, you both take 12 points of bludgeoning damage.
Ow!
And Delphine, you take half of that, 6 points of bludgeoning damage.
Ouch.
But you dive into the hole, and all four of you are piled up in here now in a crammed, small tunnel that the four of you hardly fit in together. And you can see through the opening that once the dust settled, there lies this flying lizard. And the halflings are currently unstrapping, but you also hear like this phew, 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 as arrows are fired at them from the parapet outside.
Into the cave.
Not into the cave, but you are in the cave and you're looking at this.
Okay.
There's still the people up on the parapets have no way of seeing you here. The halflings have not noticed you. It's just now they have crashed with their riding animal, and the people from Fort Bones are attacking these halflings, and you are just witnessing this at this point.
I kind of like, in a hushed whisper, we should probably get out of sight.
Mhm.
Don't need any more distractions. Right.
Rain will cast subtly, because I'm hoping that there's, subtly, a fog cloud on top of the halflings and the lizard at the entrance to the cave, obscuring them and us.
Subtle casting, out of nowhere, this bank of mists appears, and the last thing you see of the halflings is this surprised look on their faces as you also lose sight of them covered in your mist.
That works.
That is exactly how you at this point have to move through this tunnel. There are Rebus, especially being in this tall frame, they have to go on all fours and crawl through it. And you have to go single file here through this, what looks like maybe was started out as a bit of a natural tunnel, was later dug into, maybe as some kind of started back entrance or something for this fort, but never really completed. It's cramped, it's damp in here, it's even a little bit muddy under your hands, knees, and feet, and goes down a little bit in like, here goes Marcus' understanding of degrees, all about like 15 degrees downwards. About that, a slight slope. Let's keep it at a slight slope downwards. And just slowly gets, at least, you get a little bit more ceiling height. Like you can slowly start standing upright, but it's still so cramped that you have to walk single file.
I think Dythun would probably volunteer to go in front, like before like anyone had started.
Mm-hmm.
Just since he's like probably the most well armored here, so if something came from that side, he'd want to be the one to confront it.
Rain would march behind Dythun. If he's scouting and being aware, Rain will just keep her arcane self open.
I'm going left.
Self open. Everything okay?
Yeah, just something fell down.
Uh-oh.
What did you want to say, Delphine?
I'm going last.
You're going last. Yes. All right. Daithun, you at the front as you're leading your group of companions, you hear that voice in your head that you've been hearing since you had the chains on, and you hear this voice. With cunning sneaking into the fortress of an enemy. That's quite a heroic endeavor. Are you planning to eliminate part of their forces in their sleep? And then make an escape before they notice you? Or are you just gonna ignore me like you have been ignoring me for a while?
Have I ever talked to this voice without actually speaking out loud?
You tell me.
He definitely would have tried not verbalizing what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
Has it been able to maybe understand him, kind of like the brain connection?
It is you would know that you can also just think your responses to the voice.
It's just, how about stealing an extra planar artifact from within and under the guise of an invasion that hopefully we don't get caught up in.
A perfect distraction. Well chosen. A little bit deceptive for my tastes, but I understand that you just don't have the manpower to tackle it as I would have tackled this. March up to their front gates, challenge their leader to a duel, defeat them in a duel, and claim my spoils.
Yeah, well, I also don't have quite the audacity you have, so...
Rain, you've been keeping your arcane senses out for trying to do a magical vibe check on what's going on here. Walking behind Daithun, you do notice this is really a damp cave here. Water is dripping and everything. Could you give me an Arcana check, please?
Arcana. 14.
14. You do sense that, especially now with you and your companions having been to a variety of different manifest zones of different planes, you get a similar sensation here as well, that you're in the presence of a manifest zone, that this place radiates another plane, and as you know, that must be Mabar here. The further you move inward, the further you move in, that sense gets stronger.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Eventually, after about 20 minutes slouching through this cave, you come to an end of a tunnel. And you see what might have been a purpose of this cave. The end of the tunnel is sealed off with a grate. And coming through this grate is liquid residue, to put it like that. This seems to be some kind of funnel or part of the fortress's sewer system. And you see that some kind of water and other dirt comes down here. The grate itself is mounted into the wall, but it looks rusty. It's not well maintained, and might be able to be broken with some feat of strength, a show of, let's say, athleticism, something that requires physical endeavor.
I know Before we do anything, Dythun wants to experiment with something. Can he take a healing potion?
You want to take a healing potion?
Remember that
Yeah.
you all got like 2 extra ones.
2
Mhm.
each or 1 each?
2 each.
Oh,
Two common ones each.
then I got
I had added this to my inventory. I want to try taking one
I added 1.
Cool. You want to drink it?
because he does remember something about like healing magics and things like that are dampened here, and just in this, like he's not aware of like, oh, we're near one, but he knows the fort is on top of one.
Yeah. So you
And
just
he's
want to basically
curious, like,
drink
will
one
this
of.
work? Yeah.
So you would just drink the potion?
I mean, that's traditionally, yeah. I would do it.
All right.
I mean, you can put it on your skin like a lotion.
Smash it against his face. No.
Could you
Refreshing.
could you roll me how much that would heal? Just-
whoa.
I think it would be 2d4 plus 2 if it's a small one.
Yes, so total 7.
All right. So you take the potion in whatever form you want, and you drink it. But already once you started taking the first few sips, the taste was surprisingly sour for a healing potion. You've never tasted one like this, and it almost feels as if there's less potion in this vial. You drank through it too fast, and instead of 7 hit points, you regain only 3 hit points from it.
Figured as much. Just like, Delphine, I think you bought bad potions.
Isn't it
Anyway.
because you made a mess lapping it up that way?
Look, that's how I drink things, okay? Just leave me alone. Anyway, he's just gonna look at the grate. I have an idea for something, and I'm curious if you would allow this, Marcus.
Well, do tell.
I would like, just like how this works in my head, being a magical item. I would like him to just hold his arm out and the chain wrap and weave itself through the grate, and then he grasps it back with his hand.
Dope. Yeah, that works. You
Okay.
you put the hand on the chain on the grate, and all of you see this, how the chain basically moves by itself, weaving through the grate, and you basically now have it tightly wrapped around it. And as that happens, there's also, as the chain comes to life in a way, all of you looking at Dythun, he looks taller. There's something about his pose. He looks like he's doing something. He's about to do something worth remembering.
So he's basically not standing like a shrimp, like he normally does.
I don't think Dyson shrimps, but yeah,
No,
yeah, the opposite energy of that.
I trip. Dythun is very like,
Stoic.
I am here.
I think Rain understands what's happening, rolls her eyes, and minor illusions like a mud stain on like one of Dyson's pauldrons. Still there. It's still there. Still there.
The hell?
It's still there.
It's supposed to not ever be dirty. Anyway, yeah. So he'll try pulling that grate off.
All right. Can you give me an athletics check for that?
I'd love to. 19.
19. And you pull with the arm that the chain is attached to, and all of you can hear this screeching sound as parts of the grate just dong, 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 come out of the wall. And with the chain as an extra lever, Dythun starts pulling it out there, and it's being pulled out there, and parts of it grind against the ground where you're like it's stuck at there's a certain place where it's stuck, so you get it like, and you give it another good pull, and then a ding, dung, dung, and it's out.
It's
I hate you people.
oddly
No, you don't.
melodic.
No, you love us.
Oddly melodic. Great.
As that melodic grate is being dealt with, could I get another round of perception checks, please?
Percepciones. Oh, not again.
Another 19.
16.
Perception.
16.
19.
19. Nice. Once the grate with its melodic sounds collapses to the ground, you hear above you a faint rumbling sound, as if something large has hit the fortress above you.
Sounds promising.
Sound siege weapony.
Might be good timing.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we, ladies first?
Did we see what was through the grate on the other side?
Yeah, like on the other side, this grate was basically the threshold from this mostly natural cave into what looks like parts of the small sewage system of the fort.
Rain will float through. If you're describing some sewage, she'll just hover very gently over it as she clicks on her flying boots.
Rebus steps forward and says, like, could we please not make a habit about entering places through sewers?
You know, we had such a stint of, like, jumping off of cliffs. I was enjoying that one.
I agree. More fresh air there. A lot of you enter into the sewage system, and it's a small system. It's just for one fort, but what you would notice is that there's usually in sewers you will encounter maybe some kind of vermin or some kind of life that nestles in here, but here there's just this thinnest layer of liquid. There are a few stains here and there, but not a single sign of any kind of rat or mouse or cockroaches. It's completely devoid of that. Also, for a structure like this, your footsteps sound extremely muffled and dampened. You can hardly hear your own footsteps here. But we'll probably also have a harder time hearing footsteps of others in this place.
But then who will run through the sewer system?
Not crazy people, surely.
Could Delphine, as you say that, could you give me a perception check at disadvantage?
What the heck? I should shut my mouth when I have the opportunity. Okay. Wait, what was it? I have a +2 in perception, so the lowest is a 17.
17, nice.
Yeah, the highest would have been a 20, so.
Yeah, but 17, that's very nice. Let me roll the Caro die.
Oh no.
The drama generator.
Oh no.
Delphine, as you say that, as you ponder out loud, like who would we be paying out attention here for? You hear from the direction that you were heading into, you hear soft and dampened boom, boom, sounds.
That sounds undead. Looking around, hiding. Probably not the option. Fighting?
There's a little bit further ahead, there would be like an alcove that you could get everyone into for a moment. Like it would be a tight fit, but if you would like to have like a hiding to get at least out of sight of people, that would be a place.
Okay, shoving everyone over there.
Into there. And once you're in there, you can peek around the corner and you can see from further up ahead, turning from one of the corners, lumbering into the sewer system is this large, stitched together, fleshy abomination put together from whatever scraps of skin and flesh and bones probably were lying around. This golem just wanders through the sewers. Looks around. Hasn't spotted any of you.
Just whispering, like, while seeing that shit. It's probably dumb as fuck, but maybe it's best if we are not running into a fight as long as possible.
Tython, like, peeks his head around the corner of the alcove. I could take it.
Yeah, Dython, you hear in your head the voice. You hear the voice in your head. You can take it.
Did you just hear what I said?
I know, but I'm just saying.
Later.
Alright.
You can even take your personal one with you if you want.
Who's she to tell you what you can take? You hear the voice in your head, Dython.
The sensible one, surprisingly.
The flesh golem stops, and you hear another sound of impact from above. Shaking the walls. There's even dust coming off the walls here. And the golem tilts his head. Lumbers around, turns into the other direction. And with a bit of a quickened pace, moves away.
We should actually maybe follow that.
That's
If
probably
it's trying to get to the surface.
That thing, yeah, probably goes upwards. Don't we need to go downwards? Ryan, you had the closest look on that shit.
Come again?
You had the closest look on that kind of sort map-like thingy that Tuuvaktuul was showing. You were basically...
The question was, do you have to go further down to get it, or have to go further up to get the item you're looking for?
I don't
You do know that it's stored somewhere here, and that below the fortress there's a manifest zone of Mabar, as Tuuvaktuul told. But you don't have an exact location on where the item you're looking for is stored.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the question is, would they leave it in the zone, or would they take it to the fort? I assumed we were going to the fort and not necessarily trying to, like, go to the death place. Sounds maybe a bad idea. But, I mean, what do I know?
So it's a complete gamble at this point, you're saying?
So, to clarify, if it would be up in the fort, then it would have been much easier to just get in as mercenaries and looking from there. And while if it's down here, it's the best if we are continuing in the sewers.
I mean, there's no harm in going down first and then coming back up.
You tell me?
You hear sounds from behind you, from the direction that you came.
The halflings.
There is some coming in from the place where you pulled away the grate. You hear some quick steps, and as you look in the direction, you see two halflings coming into the tunnel, and they have, as they get in there, one of them speaks Does anyone of you speak? I think it's actually called Talenta, the language of the halflings.
Nope.
They speak in a language to each other that you don't understand, but one of them gets fairly loud once they get into this opening. They look at the grate that was pulled away, and they go like, in a loud voice, just exclamating at it. And then from the other end, you hear again the sound of the flesh golem as it turns around to come back around and sees the two halflings out there. One of them drawing his two swords on his back, the other one with the repeater crossbow, as they're just getting ready to engage this golem that is now charging down the tunnel.
I freeze a 5-foot section of the trickling water in front of the golem in hopes that it slips.
Before it is on our side, because it's passing by, or
yeah, it would be running
afterwards.
by you guys in the alcove. You're like hidden in an alcove, and it would be running by you. But if I understand it correctly, and please correct me, you just want to freeze a bit of the water, make it slip there so that it falls before it reaches the halflings.
It's either falling before or sliding towards them.
Right. All right.
Chip water's a cantrip, and I can freeze a 5-foot section as long as the creature's in it.
Can you really quick roll me, like, we're not going into combat, but I just want to see what happens first, but can you roll me an initiative roll? Just a quick initiative roll.
16. It's the third 16 I got on this dice.
Oh, wow, that's great, because I got worse. You, you reach out your hand, Rain, and this golem is just lumbering towards them. The patch of water is frozen right, like, with a good distance away from the halflings. The golem trips on it and falls down on the ground. The halfling with the swords out is just standing there, looks at it, and then runs full force at it and just starts hacking away at the flesh golem, which is slowly rising up, slams one arm up and throws the halfling against the wall of the tunnel, and there's just this crack sound. The golem is engaged with the halflings. What are you doing at this point?
Are they beyond our alcove?
Yes.
I think it's just gonna like come and just take off further down.
Yeah, same.
Rain agrees with that. Interesting that the halflings have encountered magical fog and a strange, inexplicable, unfreezing patch of water. Maybe
Weird.
a friend is there later.
You duck out of the alcove, and the golem has your back to you, but you hear from behind you, you hear shouting in a language you don't understand, and if you quickly look over your shoulder, there's the one halfling with the crossbow who sees the four of you running away, just keeps pointing and waving at you as you just keep on running.
Oh, probably they think we are friends.
We're not friends. Don't forget to hydrate.
Dythan's just gonna like look over his shoulder, like keep running.
You keep on running down the tunnel. Behind you, the sounds of the fights going further and further away, muffled by whatever kind of magic lingers here. One of the last things you do hear is that sound of blades cutting flesh again, another roar from the golem, and then also a painful scream from probably one of the halflings.
Oh.
But you're already getting out of the tunnel of this part, further looking for where you should head. And as you mentioned earlier, are you more inclined to look further upwards, or are you more inclined to go downwards? What you would know, especially Dythun, you as someone who understands military structures, if there's something of value here, it's probably in a place that has guards around it. that even under an invasion, some kind of siege, will have guards around it. That will be one of the signs to look for if you want to look for a valuable thing. On the other hand, if this is an item that's related to the Plane of Mabar and the Manifest Zone is deeper in the fortress, it could be further down below. But also, maybe someone is here who might be persuaded to talk and give you that information.
Depending on how important that item is, I guess. Because if it's very, very important and they know of the importance of it, then they will guard it as much as possible. Could it be something that is used to control the undead?
It's kind of what I was thinking.
Because then it would make much more sense to have it above.
Oh.
I
Moving soldiers like pieces on a chessboard. Oh.
I mean, that's what they all do.
yeah. That's
But how literal?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. They're under siege. Let's say by some chance this army gets through. They're gonna start tearing through, raiding, destroying, things like that. If they don't know what the chess piece is, it could just get lost and taken or pocketed or whatever. We probably, honestly, now is all of their focus is going to be outside. Now is probably the best time to be in the fort before they break through the walls.
True.
Once they break through the walls, if we're down below and we try coming up, everyone's attention is always going to be in the middle.
But then this fort is very heavily guarded. And I can't recall anything that the walls ever were broken apart that fast.
No, well, exactly. It might give us time inside.
I'm
All I
going
know
to
is-
check the fort if that's what Dyson recommends. I
Mhm.
think that sounds solid.
I mean, yeah, true. Here's
I
the
mean,
point.
it just makes sense that they're defending the outside, they're attacking the outside. That's the majority of their focus. I'm not saying we're going to be able to just like walk in through the fort. I'm just saying it would be more difficult later when they know there's enemies in it. But my vote's for going up.
And when we inevitably get caught, that's fine and all. What's her story?
Okay, if we
I
get
mean,
caught above, then we can say, yeah, we're brought in as mercenaries, but no one told us anything, so we are basically just looking around if there's anything where we could help.
Mercenaries for which side?
the good
Most
one.
likely you shouldn't be on the side where you're, like, in. Like, if we are in here and they are getting attacked from the outside, it's best if we're not from the Valinor side.
Well, we already have Valinarians inside. Gesturing behind us.
Do we still hear something of them?
There is still like very muffled some sounds of fighting behind you.
And
I
how
think-
about we are tricking both sides? We're helping these halflings, which are most likely from the Valinor side. Tell them that there's a valuable item down here that they should look for, while we are checking above.
I mean, look, this happened last time we were on the borders of Droam, and we know how well that went.
No, at that point we had clearly picked a side back then.
I mean, yes, but I meant we were trying to like deceive one side or the other that we were still working with one side or the other, and it just ended up in a fight anyway. Like,
I mean,
if a skeleton comes up to us and is like, "Arr," I'm just gonna hit it. Like,
Rude.
I'm not gonna like.
I mean, understandable.
I'm not good at these things. I'm good at one thing, and it's hitting things. And I'm ready to start doing that, honestly. I'm going up. He starts walking.
Let's go.
You go upwards, looking for upwards
Mm-hmm.
direction, and you do find eventually there are ladders that lead upwards that would lead you that you can climb up. There's a trapdoor that you can push from the underside and
Gently.
leads the classic. You peek through, and this one leads you up to apparently a currently unguarded storage room that you don't see anyone in at this point. So you can carefully open the trapdoor, get everyone out. This is a storage room of what looks like, well, this is the most, this is a storage room that if you were to tell someone this was one in a fortress that was meant to last a siege, they wouldn't believe you because there's hardly food here. There's like maybe 2 boxes here that have a little bit of grain and flour in them, but for the rest it's mostly repair gear, masonry tools, every kind of things for maintenance. Outside of this storage room you hear another of these rumbling explosions, the ground shaking again, and as you climb up, the last one of you coming out of the trapdoor, you are hardly in the room, and you hear from outside the closed door, there are a lot of footsteps moving outside. A lot of running about, but also a lot of running about, but you just hear footsteps. You don't hear any kind of talking. There's no commands being shouted. It's just movement that you hear outside.
Rain grabs one of the supply boxes, just kind of holds it in, just picks one up, and makes sure the lid is off. She gestures at everyone to do the same. Grab a box, grab a box,
Then, yeah.
grab a box.
Dyson's gonna wait by the door and to see if like the footsteps stop at any point. Like just wait a minute and see like, do things stop running by here?
Movement keeps going. This seems to be a busier area.
I'm shoving
Alright.
one of the boxes into Dyphon's arms. Like, and
Alright,
then I'm adding a second one on top of it.
All right.
Rebus also grabs supplies, whatever they can find. Are we going to pretend that we work here, Miss Rain?
Yes, hand them out. Say nothing. Simply offer them to anyone passing by.
Daring,
All right.
but interesting. Shall I open the door?
Ready?
Yes, and remember, there's no need to. Let's keep the conversation to a minimum.
You open the door, Rebus opens the door for you, and outside there's a hallway. There is no lighting in this hallway. So any one of you who doesn't have any kind of dark vision,
Only
currently,
Rebus.
Yeah, it's only
Yeah.
Rebus.
yeah,
Sadly.
currently doesn't see anything. Those of you with dark vision, you see once you open the door, on the opposite side, staring at the door opening now, is this in leather armor dressed zombie standing there with a spear in hand.
I push the boxes forward.
I hand a wrench. I put a wrench on top of his box.
Gah.
Hammer. Crowbar.
Furiously shaking my head.
Rain, roll a persuasion check to
Yes,
persuade
okay.
the zombie.
Persuade the zombie.
15 plus 6 is math. 21.
21. The zombie drops the spear, holds the box and all the supplies with 2 hands, and just wanders off. But running down the hallway, what causes these footsteps are also that there's movements of running by you as this happens. On a jogging pace are skeletons in plate armor with sword and shields that just run by you as you're giving a task to this zombie. This is just, and you cannot hear, you don't just hear the clanking of the armor, but also the clanking of the bones of the skeletons. They're going clink, clink, clink. Exactly. And as you send the zombie off, coming from one of the other rooms adjacent to this hallway, is a person. A person that is not undead.
I pick up the spear.
I'm still having one of the boxes in my hands.
Still having one of the boxes in hand. That makes sense. Let me double check something. I want to get this right. Check my notes real quick. Yeah. Stepping out is a middle-aged human woman in also a plate breastplate and the colors of Karnath over her armor. She has a 2-handed sword strapped to her back, and while she gets out, she just mumbles to herself like, "One day we'll think of something that makes these skeletons less noisy." And she comes out, sees all of you standing there. Who the flying fuck are you?
And just holds out the spear.
The fuck am I supposed to do that? Who are you? You're not one of my soldiers.
Well, we were brought in as mercenaries. We have basically the least clue what is going on.
Who the fuck brought you in as mercenaries? Yes, Leonin.
No, this is me. Question for the DM. Sorry. I know Dyson has been doing
from
that.
Marcus.
Yes. Is there any wild chance Dyson would know a name of like a general or something from Karnath?
I mean, there's always a wild chance. Give me a history check.
Okay.
This is a pretty high DC, but it is possible that you can make it.
And Dyson is so bad with names.
Yes, true.
Right. Cool. I'm gonna use a natural cat vantage for this.
Your natural cat vantage.
My Caro dice rolled a 4.
Yeah, don't use
That's
it.
much better.
I mean, we got it from someone who said,
Where did history go? There it is. 18.
18. You look at this
almost
woman.
As good as I can roll history.
You look at this woman, and you have at first no clue who she could be. But once you get a closer look, you have a better of a closer look of the armor. And you did first notice the steel breastplate, but you notice that the sides of it are actually, instead of plates, they are a bone rib cage that is worked into the armor. And also other elements of the armor are not just steel, they are actual bones that are integrated into the armor. You have heard there that the forces of Karnath have fielded the so-called Captain of Bones in the past. And you have no clue what her actual name is. You only know that there were stories that she walked in an armor made out of bones of the enemies she killed. But this would meet the description, but you don't know for sure if it's her.
Have I ever heard any random Karnath name thrown around before?
Brennan.
Okay. Dyson speaks up. Brennan sent us. You're the. What do you say? I already forgot what you said. Commander of Bones.
Captain of
Captain
Bones.
Captain of Bones. That's the one. It's not a character trait. It's just me. The Captain of Bones. We were supposed to find you. We were sent here to get supplies, and
She steps up to you, now right in front of you, leans in really close. I'm the fucking commander of this fortress. I know every single face here. I know every single bone that gets in and out of here, and I sure as fuck know that there's not a single Brennan working here. What a fucking stupid name. Who's called Brennan anyway? And you are certainly not any mercenaries that I hired. Snaps her fingers, and all the skeletons in the hallway, they stop, turn towards the group, sees them, the captain says, and you are surrounded in a hallway with skeletons, a zombie that you have just given tools to go off to do some kind of menial task, and a woman dressed in a bone armor. And that's where we're going to end today's session.
Cool.
And
Right.
pick up next time.
Let's do it.
Shit.
I can use that one item I discovered I had.
You can use that one item that you discovered you had.
Yeah.
Is this
Arr.
the thing of like I bought the item at some point and now it's like, oh, I still have that. It's useful.
Not quite. You'll see.
I'm sure we will.
All right, so you did get at least inside. You've met someone in here, and we're gonna see next time how you deal with this person who apparently has a bone to pick with you.
Ha ha ha.
We've
Bon
learned the
dogs.
Commander of Bones is not a
Commander
fan of Dimension
Boner.
No, if this Captain of Bones would watch Dimension 20, she would think differently of the name Brennan. Full
Well,
disclosure, which
maybe.
I want to say, I don't have a problem with the name Brennan. The Captain of Bones does.
20. Exactly.
We could have explained like,
Obviously.
hey, Dyphon has a very bad memory when it comes to names, so the guy could like be named totally different.
If
Could-
any TTRPG playing person named Brennan wishes to have a further discussion with it on our channel, you are more than welcome to come and we will see how we can accommodate you.
We will bring almonds. We have all the almonds.
Almonds are important.
Anyhow, that was the start for Chapter 6. You got right in the middle of it, and we're going to pick up next week to see how this continues. But before we head out, first of all, thanks to everyone who came to hang with us in chat today and watch along. Thank you very much for your support here. If you liked what you saw here on our Twitch channel, feel free to follow us or even subscribe. If you, for example, also have a Prime subscription lying around you're not using, feel free to use it for us and support us in that way. If you liked what you saw and you want to keep track of what we're doing, you can also follow us on our Twitter, link below here, where you can find us on Twitter. And you can also join our Discord, where we always have all the updates going on, and where you can also talk with anyone else who's involved with the Horde of Tales community. If you noticed that we're already in episode 44 of this campaign and you want to catch up with what we do, how about you check out our YouTube channel? On our YouTube channel, you find all the recordings of our sessions of this campaign, but also of all the other cool stuff we do on this channel, any kind of one-shots and other campaigns we run here, and also regularly funny shorts with highlights from our games. We are only, I think, about 13 subscribers away from reaching 200 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So if you want to support us there, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and put comments on our videos. It feeds the algorithm and it helps us a lot. And now if you're wondering,
Where should
what
they do
is your
that?
Sorry?
Yeah,
Where should they do that?
When should they do that? Yes, I was about to get to this. I was building up the hype, but they can do it at youtube.com/Horde of Tales. Yes. Oh, this will be so outdated soon.
Already is. I mean,
Yeah,
thank God I have
yeah.
this backdrop and everything. Otherwise, who remembers planking? It's the other way. That's on your
Doesn't
face, right? I thought.
I think it was.
The only kind of
I have
planking
no
I do
clue
is
It's
during
just
a
hard to-
workout.
about.
It's hard to visualize that.
We're old, okay.
Some of us are
No,
old.
Austin is not old.
Anyway,
this is the
so
only group of friends I have. I'm not the old one. It's a little
Aw.
refreshing. I'm not gonna lie.
This is,
Aw.
that feels kind of sad for the rest of us.
Especially speaking as probably the oldest one.
But you can find, as I said, all of that on youtube.com/Horde of Tales, and where you can also, if you want to comment on if you think we're old or not.
How dare! Don't do that.
That'd be with
Well, you
that
know what?
being
It beats the
Kinda
algorithm,
rude,
George.
you know.
exactly. All right. This campaign will be back next week, Tuesday. Then, so you can join us back then. But also this week, if I'm not mistaken, we have one other game this week on
Yes.
this channel.
Special one. Special
We
one.
do. Ida, would you like to tell us what we have on this channel?
On Thursday at the same time, so 8 o'clock CET, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the final game of Demons 12 Occult Eye, which is now the fully funded in 5 days Kickstarter by Witching Craft, which is a game about demons and witches who are part of themselves, and they are tasked with entrusting a very special artifact to a bigger witch. And they've gotten through this through investigating, through occult theme, through dating, through some delicious tension. So definitely catch the finale of that on Thursday.
Exactly. And as Ida mentioned, the Kickstarter for 12 Occult Eye is still going. They are already fully funded, but they're still working towards some stretch goals. The link to the Kickstarter is in the chat. If you want to support a very cool indie TTRPG with great themes, great art, and a really cool system, check out the Kickstarter and see where you can support.